Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm so excited to present to you today an interview that I had with a fellow pre-birther, as we call each other, but Arke Muratova has a pre-birth memory of what she was experiencing before and leading up to coming into her body. And she's also had multiple visitations, dreams, and out-of-body experiences since then, which have given her even more information about why she came to this life on Earth and what she's doing here. Arke is originally from Kazakhstan and is located now in Australia. She has a Bachelor of Animation and she is a content creator, singer, songwriter, and artist. I will have her contact links, her YouTube, TikTok, and email linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Here's Arke. Hello, Arke. I am so excited to have you on today. Like, seriously, of all the interviews that I've done, I'm so excited to talk to you because we have something in common. We both have pre-birth memories. So thank you for being willing to do this.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for having me. Thank you for your patience and contacting me. I'm excited as well. And I must say what you do is beautiful. And I truly enjoy your channel and what you do for people.
Yes, and I could say the same to you. So I'm just going to say right now that for all the viewers, you should check out her TikTok, and you have a YouTube as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because she puts a lot of really uplifting, positive content out there, and I really love watching her TikTok videos specifically. So would you like to start by just sharing what you remember of your pre-birth memory?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll start off with a little bit about my background. So I'm from Kazakhstan. So I was born in Kazakhstan and raised in Kazakhstan and moved to Australia, and currently in Australia. So I was raised by my grandparents until the age of 4 or 5. And I actually considered them to be my biological parents. And I had my uncle with me. And since my parents, my biological actual parents, were teenagers, they moved to the city. So they left me with my grandparents and they moved to the city to work and to find their career and passion. So I was about 4 when my mom, she came to visit us and she introduced herself to me as my mother. And I remember her being upset because I wouldn't call her mother, I would call her sister. And she was like, no, I am your mother. You have to call me mother. And she had my brother in her hands, who was 1 or 2 years old though. And we went to another room and she was breastfeeding him, my brother. I was just quietly sitting watching and I suddenly recalled everything. My pre-birth memories, why am I here, and all those abilities that I've forgotten about, they all came back. So I shared my pre-birth memory. I was like, oh yes, you are my mother. I remember everything, what happened, and I am so grateful that you welcomed me. I'll share how it happened. So I was in a darkness, in a black tunnel. I don't think I had a body or anything. I didn't feel like I had a body. I didn't feel anything around me, any space, any time. I just saw this white dot in the end of the tunnel. It was just a very tiny bright light. And it was coming closer to me, or I'm moving closer to it. I couldn't tell. But I felt like I was put in trance, as if I was falling asleep. But as I was moving, I suddenly stopped and I asked, wait, where am I going? But I had no one around me. But then suddenly this gentle presence showed up. I couldn't see her, but I could feel what she was saying, and it was going through my head. And she said, you're going to planet Earth. And I said, all right, yes, planet Earth. And at that moment, I don't know why, but I felt like as if I should know about it, as if it seemed familiar. It seemed like I should know about Earth. And I said, all right, yes, I'm going to Earth. And she kept saying, yep, it's about time, keep moving. And I got distracted. I got distracted because the light was coming closer and closer. And what I saw in that light was three ladies. And so it's labor. So labor scene, my mom, giving birth to me. I had no idea what was happening, but I clearly saw them, and I remember them being noisy and yelling and screaming, and I didn't know what was happening, so I was excited, and I asked, like, what are they saying? Like, why are they yelling? And I heard this word, which was keys, and I specifically picked it up and I said, wait, what keys means? And this gentle presence, she was like, well, keys in that language means a girl. You're gonna be born as a girl. And she started explaining the difference between boys, girls. And I was fascinated. I was like, wow, I'm a girl. Like, I can bring. She told me how I would become a mother if I bring a child. And I was like, wow, I can bring another life. And that seemed lovely to me. I kept saying, wow, that's beautiful. That's lovely. I am so excited. I can't wait to be there. And she kept telling me, like, let's go. Like, you have to go now. You have to move. And I was still hesitating. I was still hesitating, although I was excited, but I was nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll move. And the voice, the presence started fading slowly as I was getting sucked into that bright light. The voice started fading back. She kept saying, dear child, please don't forget me. Don't forget us. You are always, always protected. You are always guided. You can do it. We will watch over you. We love you, and you will be loved and welcomed. Trust us. And I said, okay. I was like, okay, I will remember you. Thank you. And my soul was like a child. I don't know. It's just an excited child. So I got sucked into the light, and I was in the body of the baby. I remember I hated it. I didn't like it. I was like, oh, it's stiff. I couldn't move it. I couldn't control it. And I remember I felt uneasy, as if I shouldn't be here. But once this lady, she put me on my mother's chest. You know, the bliss and enlightenment you felt when you met the source and you were on the other side. That's what I felt when they put me on my mother's chest. But I couldn't understand what she was saying because I didn't know the language. And but energetically, what she, I think her intention was, it was something like, I love you, I will protect you. And I felt so happy, so grateful. And I said, oh, wow, they were right. I am loved. Like, I am welcome. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy and excited. Well, I told my mom, and she didn't say anything, but she didn't deny it, because I think her entire family, like women's line, they all are healers, and they have like prophetic dreams, and they all can relate to that. So she didn't say anything about it. She was like, oh, okay, yeah, it was probably a dream, but all right, all right. So that was my memory. And I was, what, about 4 or 5, And after that memory, I returned my abilities back, like getting out of my body, or as if you could call it astral traveling. And as a kid, I thought like everyone could do it. Everyone is, capable of just getting out of their body like I used to. I used to just rush to my bed and think, oh, I can't wait to fly. I can't wait to fly. And I remember getting frustrated because I was living with my grandparents, and I could talk to animals. We had a lot of animals, and I lived in a small village, so we had a lot of animals, and I could talk to them, and I could talk to plants, but I couldn't talk to people like telepathically. And I would get frustrated and come over to my grandparents and tell them like, everyone can understand me when I send them message, but you're not getting it. And they would say, no, you have to speak up, Arke. You can't just think about it and expect me to understand. But I would say, no, 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 you don't understand. Plants understand me, like animals understand me. And it might, I now understand them. Like if my child came up to me and said that, I would probably be also surprised. And I started getting those abilities back, and I had this prophetic dream in which I saw my grandparents' death, and I saw my biological dad's death, and they would die at, I think, close to each other. In terms of timing, it was close to each other, and then I had no idea or no concept of death. But I remember just being excited, and I came up to my mom when she visited us, and I said, I had a dream and I'm so excited to share. I sat her down and I said, you're going to die. And as a kid, I think I didn't know how to deliver those things. I said, well, my grandparents are going to die soon, and my father is going to die soon too. You're going to stay with us for some time with me and my brother, and then you're going to die too. And then it will be left me and my brother. And my mom was like sitting there, just wide eyes open. She's like, all right, keep going. And but she didn't say anything. She just said, oh, you just had an awful dream. But what happened was, soon after that dream, it actually happened that way. My dad suddenly passed away in an accident. My grandparents passed away, and I was left with my uncle. So my teenage mom, she was living in the city with my little brother, and barely, she could barely take care of him, and she was working 3 jobs, 4 jobs, and trying to make ends. So I was left with my uncle, which was actually then a traumatic time of my life, because I was from age 5 till 7, 2 years I lived with him and his wife, and we lived in abuse, physical abuse. After my grandparents' death, my uncle just couldn't stop drinking, and he couldn't stop, giving us a hard time. He was giving us basically a hard time and abusing us. But even though as a kid I didn't know what was happening, but I still liked him, and I still had so much love for him. I thought all I could see was how much sadness and how much hard time he was having, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I wasn't paying full attention to it. I wasn't scared of him. I don't think I was scared of him. I should have been, but I wasn't. Also because I had my guides, which I didn't know they were called guides or angels. We weren't religious. Our family wasn't religious, or never practiced it, and I've never heard about God or angels or anything like that. Or we didn't have books or TV, so I had no idea about anything. And I remember I had this plant, and from this plant, these little people came, and they would visit me, and they would tell me where to hide, where my uncle was drinking, or I sensed something is gonna happen, or he would try to kill me or something like that. And it happened many times. But my guides, the little people, they would tell me, go hide in the barn. Or they would just send me a message, do this, rush here, go to this person. And so I wasn't scared. I was always guided, like, you have to hide here, you have to go this way. And animals would hide me. They would tell me, come here. So I felt grateful. I feel grateful for this now. I didn't realize it was something extraordinary. I thought this was a normal thing, to be honest. So yeah, and one day I don't know how, but I escaped my uncle. I escaped the house. I was facing death. I was facing death, and I was about to be killed. And I remember just talking to these little people, and I said, please let me leave. Like, please save me. I don't want to die. I want to be an adult. I want to become an adult so badly. I want to experience everything. I want to, live a life. I want to live a long life. I remember saying, I want to live a long life. And somehow something happened to my uncle, and he started apologizing and crying. And I remember I escaped. I ran to my neighbor's house. I picked up their phone and I borrowed it. I had my mom's number. We had these big brick phones. I had her number and I called her and I asked, please save me. I'm scared. Please save me. I don't want to die. I think I will die if you leave me here. And she didn't know about what was happening, so she was shocked, and she took me with her to the city to live with her. So I lived with my mom up till age of 17. And meanwhile, she got married to my stepdad. She had another child, and I was introduced to another to a religion, Islam religion. Yeah. My stepdad tried to teach me about Islam and Quran, but I didn't practice, and I had no interest in it. So but I had like some concept of, I started getting some concept of heaven and hell, which was confusing to me. I was like, why would people go to hell? Like, why would you do that? And like, why would they go to hell if they were created by the creator? So I would question my stepdad, and I was very skeptic. Like, I couldn't understand the point he was trying to tell me. So I was about 17, finished my high school, and I remember my mom just had, at the time, her spiritual awakening, and she was glowing. Like, she was glowing. She started her business. She was happy, and she was sharing these knowledges with me. She was telling me about how to manifest, like how thoughts work, how you can get anything you want if you set an intention, and about the universal love and everything. But I couldn't understand at the time. I was like, yeah, sure. And so my mom, I think I remember, she also had dreams like me. She had prophetic dreams, and she saw her death in her dream. And a week before she passed away, she sat me, my brother down, and she told us, well, I'm leaving Earth. It's like my time has come up. It's like my time's finished. Okay, so you guys should be brave. And she already gave us like step-by-step plan, like what you should do. Like you go to the bank, you go to this place, you sign these papers, and everything was detailed. So we were like, wait, what are you talking about? So, and yeah, we didn't take the fact. We didn't believe her. We were like, okay, whatever. And but I think I felt that it was truth deep inside, because I knew that I also had a dream of her death as a child, so I kind of knew it's gonna happen. But when it actually did happen, it put me into this state where I just lost the goal of my life, because my personality at the time as a child was built around my mother. So I always had my goals attached to her, like, oh, if I'll become an adult and I'll support her, I'll become an adult and I'll let my mom travel the world, and I'll become an adult, so I can pay my mom's bills and do this and this, and everything just crashed, just collapsed. So we moved to Australia with my stepdad and my two siblings. We spent all our money on getting a visa and moving to another country. So 5 years, I think, in Australia, challenge after another challenge, and it was depression. I had major social anxiety. I couldn't talk to people. I would just start shaking and stuttering, and had so much to learn, like new environment, language. I started working in hospitality in order to learn the language and then, get to know people and make some money. And I faced bullying and mistreatment and racial discrimination in this country I didn't expect. And we had poverty and financial difficulties. I was trying to make some money to support my brother and just to eat. We were struggling financially. We had days, months we would go without food. So it was a cycle of this study and work, and in hospitality work was exhausting. And I was trying to pay off my study debt with that. And I was stuck in this survival mode and this closed loop: work, study, bullying, mistreatment. And this loop was closed, and I felt like I wasn't moving at all. I was stuck in this one place. I wasn't moving. And I had multiple suicidal attempts. I tried to end everything. I honestly didn't believe in God at the time. I thought this is like something that doesn't exist, because if he existed, well, this was my mindset as at the time, like if he existed, he wouldn't give me these hardships, he wouldn't take my mother, and I would just blame everything. And while I was in that survival mode, I would blame everything but not me. And so one day I would finish my work at the restaurant late, so I would take this night walks, and one day I was just sitting under the moon and crying, and I don't know why, but I felt this urge to ask the moon for help. I said, well, if there is a God, please help me now. Well, I need you now. Well, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where my life's going. I don't see the point of my life. And because my attempts of suicide always ended with failure, I said something like, well, if you saved me so many times, there must be a reason. So show me that reason, please. Because I couldn't understand like what was going on and why my life was going the way it's going. So I promised, well, if you exist, and if you want to help me, I am willing to change, and I am willing to put effort and change. Soon after that, I remember I just came from work, went to sleep, and I woke up, but I woke up in my mother's arms. in her lap. Like I was sitting on her lap, but she was holding me like a baby, closer to her chest, like holding me like this. And I always stunned because I never hugged my mother while she was alive. And that was like the reason for my depression, because I didn't show her affection, never said I love you or anything like that. So she was holding me, hugging me, and I started looking around. We were in our old apartment. Everything was so beautiful, but the colors of my apartment was different. Everything was shining, glowing, and colorful. And I started touching everything. The floor, if it exists, it did. So, and I started touching my mother, like tapping on her shoulder and poking her because I couldn't understand if it was real. And she felt realistic. She was alive. She felt warm. So I said, "Wow, you are real." And then I said something like, "Oh, that can't be true. Like this can't be true. This can't be happening. You're dead. You have passed away." Well, I was like, "Well, you left me." And she was actually, she didn't say anything, but she had this um caring, peaceful look to her. She was giggling, like she was laughing at my reaction. Like she was as if she already expected me to react this way. And I remember I looked into her eyes just to check to see if she's real. And the entire universe was in her eyes. It was so beautiful. I was like, wow, that's so fascinating. And what I noticed about her was she looked youthful. She looked so happy. She never looked that youthful. I mean, I remember her when she was 35, and but she looked 18, and she was glowing. She was glowing. She had this white halo around her, white aura. She was wearing white only. She basically looked like an angel, if that's what people describe as angels. She looked like an angel, and I said, "Wow, you're so beautiful." And I kept hugging her because I didn't want this dream to end. And I said, "Oh, so this must be a dream, right? If this is a dream, I don't want it to end." And I started hugging her tightly, and I said, "Please don't go." And I said something like, "My life was so hard without you. I missed you so much." And I finally said, "I love you." So I kept hugging and didn't want it to end. But she was patting me, like tapping on my shoulder, and as if she was saying, "It's okay, it's okay." And while she was doing that, I looked up for some reason. I looked up and I saw this bright light we were sitting under. It was beautiful. It was just pure love and bliss just above us. And it was filling me in and her as well. And what I felt was like a healing, probably. And slowly, as if she was, while she was tapping me and patting me, every memory of Earth was fading away. And I started thinking and considering my life experience on Earth as a dream. I was like, oh, what if the Earth was a dream? What if I'm dead right now? Like, this is heaven. Well, I don't mind if this is a heaven. I like it. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, it must be it. This is it, because this is so realistic, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually afterlife. But yeah, slowly I felt like I was healing. I don't know how, but I didn't want it to end. Like, I tried to hold on to my mom as tight as it's possible, and as tight as it's possible, but I woke up. I woke up in my bed and I said, dang, so this was a dream. But I felt this warmth in my left hand, the hand I was holding my mom with, like touching her with. And it's as if someone was still holding. And I started crying. I was like in my bed crying, like someone's holding me. So this must, this was real. Like it wasn't a dream. And trust me, I never believed in God or angels or guides. So it was hard for me to acknowledge that this happened, but it did, and I felt something different about me after that. The survival mode I was living in was gone. The depression I had was gone. I had no social anxiety, had no eating disorder. I forgot everything. I basically forgot everything about my old self. The the mindset I had, I forgot about it, as if I just survived to Earth, and I started relearning about everything. I detached from everything I've known so far. For 23 years I learned on Earth. I detached for some reason, and I had to relearn about everything with fresh new mindset. And I felt so light. My body was light, and I felt glowing, and I felt like I was shining and glowing. And what I noticed was how people would react to me. People started loving me. People would, they would look at me differently. They would see the glow, and I started noticing how once I step in a room, people would just stare at me. Like everyone in the room would notice it. And I also started noticing something's wrong, like something's different in a good way. So what I felt was, I couldn't at the time explain, because for 23 years I felt that I had blindfolds on me, and when they were taken off, I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't know what I was experiencing. So I had those abilities back, which was telepathy, out of body experiences. I had enhanced intuition. I would recall my past lives, had prophetic dreams. I would just each night get out of my body, you know, and fly. And at I think the first time I got out of my body, I just stood. My astral body just got out. I looked at my physical body, just laying on my bed, and I said, "Wow, I am finally out." I felt the relief, and I was laughing. I said, "I'm finally out of that body, yay!" And I went flying. The first thing I did was, "Oh, I want to fly now," and I went flying all around the Earth. I went to the moon. I went back to Earth. I was having fun, and then I went to clouds. I started jumping on clouds. I was like, "Wow, this is so cool!" And I'm jumping from one cloud to another, hugging every cloud. Tried to hug. And I remember I had this aha moment where I said, how could I forget that this is me? How could I forget? And I looked back at Earth, and I still had this feeling that I should go back. I must go back, and it will happen. Like there is something unfinished about Earth, but I couldn't explain. I couldn't tell what it was. But I had this deep love and deep compassion to Earth, and I remember saying, "Wow, you are so beautiful. You're doing so well." And I said to Earth, "Can you imagine me talking to Earth?" So I said, "You're doing so well. Well, I will come back to help. I will come back, but let me have fun now." And I went flying. I still had connection to Earth, so I felt the urge to go back and observe people for some unknown reason. And I visited different countries, and I would just observe people. Some people were upset, some people were angry, some people were joyful, some people were going through challenges, and some people were just busy with life, like busy going to work. And I remember just being fascinated and thinking, wow, this is so exciting. This is what life is about. This is a journey. This is an experience. And I felt the urge to experience human life again. And I said, I can't wait to go back to my body. And now with uh, with the knowledge of who I am, now I know who I am, I can go back. So I was excited to start the journey with this knowledge I had, and excitement and these abilities I had. I could get out of my body anytime. And after that, I think it was like for 5 nights straight, I had out of body experiences for 5 nights straight. And each night, people who are actually alive on Earth, and one of them is my uncle, they would come to my room, and I would get out of my body to meet them, and they would tell me, let's go for a walk. And I said, okay. And we would go for a walk into this forest. It was a beautiful forest. For 5 nights straight, they would take me to that forest each night. And every soul I met, they apologized. And it was people whom towards I had grudges, I guess. I was angry at them, and I was mistreated or bullied by them. So I thought they were bad people. They were this and this. However, when their souls showed up, each one of them, they apologized. But I didn't feel the grudge. I had so much love towards them, and they had so much love towards me. And I felt like we were a family, like we were this soul family. I didn't know what soul family was back then. Trust me, I didn't have any idea. But this is the feeling I had. I had like, oh, I've known them for so long, and they love me so much. And why would I have grudge towards them? I remember saying, why would I be angry at you? I love you. But one thing they all said, and I remembered, and they asked me to remember, please don't forget, was, you know that it wasn't our true self who hurt you. Our true nature would never hurt you. My uncle said, I would never hurt you, my love. I would never do that. I wasn't myself. Please remember that. And I understood what it was about. I couldn't explain, but I had so much love, and I said, of course I know. This is all, we're acting, yes. And I would wake up each morning and would write down what they said, and I started researching about what they said, like, this isn't our true nature. And I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. So what's our true nature? And everything started just flowing to me, the telepathic messages. I don't know from who, from my higher self, from my guides, from my mom, source, I don't know. But whenever I asked the question, like, well, what's the point of my life? They would just send me a message. This. And I remember I asked something like, well, why did I come to Earth at all? Like, why would I choose this life? And I had this dream in which I actually just, I think I didn't know it was a dream. I got out of my body. I see myself sleeping. So I was like, oh, okay, I am out again. And my astral body was sitting on my bed, and I see this creature, a little fairy flying. She was so pretty. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen any colors on Earth like she had. She had those colors, and she was sparkly, beautiful, and she had this little contract in her hands, and it said contract. And it had more words to it, like letters. I couldn't read it. She tried to come up close to me, and she was just showing it around, and I was like, I can't read it. Like, I see it's a contract, but I can't read the rest. And I remember saying, "Oh my God, this is a fairy. I'm seeing a fairy. I must." I was like, "Well, I want to wake up and tell my partner about it." Um, so I don't know how I fell back asleep, but I did. And the next morning, I woke up and I couldn't get the message. I was like, "Well, I asked, why am I here?" They sent me a contract. So I was like, "Okay." And then I was meditating and I asked, "So what was it about? Like, what's the contract about?" And they sent another telepathic message, this soul contract. And I was like, "Oh, soul contract." I still couldn't get it. I was like, "Well, I don't know what it means. Well, I have to do some more research." So I started researching and finding books. Actually, books started finding me. So I would just have this urge to go to the library and I would know which aisle to go, which book to pick up for some reason. And it would tell me about it. So had this for some time. Yeah, I had this ability and it faded away eventually. I had some shadow work to do. Of course, it was a fascinating experience where I had my super consciousness. I was in this super conscious state, and I had these all of those supernatural abilities, and I tried to explain to people like what was happening, but couldn't get any answers from them. So, I remember having no ego, had absolutely no ego, and just pure love. As if you remove every emotion from you, just leave love. Like that's it. That was it. I felt just love towards everybody. And I remember going to work and I had these connections with people and I could hear their thoughts, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And some of my coworkers who have been mistreating me or had something to do with me, I could hear their thoughts and their feelings. And what they were saying was, "I'm insecure. I am upset. I am depressed. I am unhappy. I am jealous of you." And I remember just hearing them. And then I said, "Wow." And it started making sense. Like, oh, this is what it was about. Like everyone is struggling. And I felt so much love for them. And I noticed how they started changing towards me when I started showing love towards them. And so everything started changing. And I quit my job and I finally decided to get out of that loop, which I was in. And since I'm no longer in survival state, I was very excited about life. I remember your interview with Lee, and then you said, "Well, what was the purpose of this life?" And I asked the same question actually. I did ask my guides the same question, and in the beginning, and I remember I was in the library, and I said, "Well, what's the point of this earth? Like, why were you here? Okay, we signed that contract. Well, what's the point of it, anyways?" And they said love, like the message they sent was love, and I felt through my body, and I said, and I was like, wow, this is so simple. Everything's so simple in life. It makes, it's easy. How could we forget it? And I went to my partner, my brother, to explain, like, oh, the point of life is love. Like we came to learn about love, and we came to go, to learn about non-duality and go back to non-duality. So, and then they didn't get me. So I asked for more clarity, more clarity. Yeah, clarity. Excuse me. And I was in the library, and the voice sent me a name, Albert. And I remember I just said out loud in the library, like, "Albert?" I questioned the name Albert, and my phone, the Google speaker on my phone, I don't know what it's called, Google Assistant on my phone, picked it up, and it took me to Wikipedia page of Albert Einstein's biography. And I remember thinking, wow, maybe I should read about Albert Einstein. And I went to the lady at the reception. I asked her, "Do you have any books about Albert Einstein? Like any book, anything you recommend? I'll read anything." And she gave me the first book. She was like, "Read this one. I like it." And then I was like, "Okay." And it was Cosmic View by Albert Einstein. And I have so much love for this person. This man is just, I don't know, he's just a beautiful soul. How he saw the world, how he sees the beauty in everything, and how he wouldn't deny any religion. And I'm the same. I don't deny or I don't approve. I don't label myself within any religion, but I think there's truth in each. And he said something like, well, if you ask what's my religion, it's cosmic religion. I remember just laughing at it and thinking, wow, this is, this is great. Like I'm gonna use that. I'll also be part of this cosmic religion then. And well, I still didn't get the answer. I was like, okay, I've read this book, and I was reading more books on Albert Einstein, but I felt like I wasn't going towards the answer. I felt like I was still far away. And then I came across this letter of Albert Einstein to his daughter, in which he explains, and it was his last letter, in which he explains about the most powerful force in the entire universe. And he says it is love. And he explains to his daughter, love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love, every creation starts with love. Love conquers all, transcends everything. And for love we live, for love we die, and love is within everyone. I remember just crying while reading it because I needed this clear answer, and they would just give this letter. So yeah, I was crying during your interview as well, because how much I think everyone was getting the same answer, and everyone was having the same feeling. So that made me so happy. Well, I had another experience where I got to meet my guides. I shared it with Lee, but I'll share with you. I was in Russia actually. I astral projected, but I got out of my body, but it wasn't intentional. I didn't think about getting out. I usually put some intention before doing it. I got out, so I had no purpose. I was just there hanging around the house and just going through the walls and touching my doors and trying to see what I can do, what I cannot. And I remembered that I had this these questions in my notepad. I wrote down like about 20 questions to my guides. Like I needed clarity. If I need answers, I have to get them like clear in words. So I remember thinking, I started wondering, well, if I could connect, like if I could ask them to show up in astral realm, because I've never done it before. I said something like, well, my guides, it's time for you to show up. If you think I'm ready, and if you think you can give me answers, and I am ready for answers, please show up. Please do it. And I didn't expect it. Like I was just giving it a try, and I thought, like, if they don't show up, it's fine. But they did. The roof of my house started opening, and this triangular craft showed up. And this craft wasn't unfamiliar because I've been seeing this craft in Australia. Like it would just show up and disappear. And the same craft showed up. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I started floating inside, like towards this craft. They started picking me up. And I remember just feeling excited. I had no fear. And I got in, and two light beings, they met me and they welcomed me, and I was excited, and I said something like, well, do I have time to ask questions, like I have so many. And they said, don't worry about time. And the first question was like, well, I want to ask about my past lives, because I had glimpses of my past lives, and I had sadness around them because I remembered how I died in those lives. And I asked them, well, I remember being a man, I had like wife and children, and then they all died and I died, and if I have any karmic debts related to those past lives, and what should I do? And they were like, oh, those past lives, you have to disregard them because they're not related to your current life at all. They said that circle was finished. It is very, very distant memory you have. And this is your first life on Earth. And I started thinking, I asked like, what do you mean by first life? And they said, it's your first volunteered life. You chose to come and help. And I said, okay, help with what? I remember saying, well, help with what? What exactly I'm helping with? And they explained to me how me and so many like me, souls, volunteers, just like me, came willingly to help to raise the frequency of Earth so we can shift from old Earth to new Earth faster. Because the Earth is doing, she's doing it on its own. She's moving herself. But we are just additional helpings. We are helping her to move, and also we're helping other souls to awaken, just provoking awakening. And I didn't know about like new Earth, old Earth at the time. I was like, right. And then I asked, well, what's my purpose? Like my personal purpose? Why am I here? And they said, you are doing great. They were, to my surprise, they were proud of me. They said, you were doing great, actually. I didn't feel like I was doing much. So I was like, really? Am I doing something? And they said, you are doing great. Whatever you are doing, it's all in the plan you signed up for. And they told me about how I was excited to choose this life, and I was very committed to it. I was like, I can do it. I want to do it. And I believed them because I remember how I got out of my body. I still felt the urge to go back to Earth and help. And I was like, yeah, I believe that. I believe that. I think that's true. And they told me your personal purpose is raising the vibration. And I asked, like, what can I do? What can I do more? What should I do from my side? And they said, you don't do, you be. I was like, right. And they told me to be me, to discover me, to love me, and to show love to others, and to show what is like being authentic, what is like having dreams, what is it like to be loving and caring and compassionate and being just light. And they told me that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to create your heaven. You are creating your heaven on earth, and by creating your own heaven, by treating yourself the best way it's possible, people around you will be inspired by you and they will be happy. And you are provoking awakening in them. They said you might not notice it, but wherever you go, some people will have changes in them. They won't even notice it, and you won't notice it. And they told me it's not something you have to notice. You don't need to pay attention to it. And they told me all those volunteers and all other souls with a similar purpose to mine, they would do the same thing all around the world. They would create their heaven all around the world, and that's how we would shift to new earth. That's how we would connect. And while they were explaining it, it was clear, like the new earth and the old earth, and the plan seemed very clear. I remember thinking, yeah, that's gonna work out. Like, this is gonna work. And they asked me questions about the craft, like, do I recognize the craft? I used to work with them. I said no, I actually didn't recognize it. So, and they told me not to worry about it because I would recall everything back. They said they would help. And another thing they said was, oh, I asked many times when I was experimenting with out of body travelings and projections, astral projections, I saw these beings in my room working on my body, and I was frightened those times where I saw them, and I asked about those times, and they said it was them, and they said they are constantly working on my body and on everyone else's body. And they told me the mission I had was called Inside Out. You are supposed to help inside out. So I said, okay, how do I do it? And they said, you don't do anything. We go to your body, we adjust your body to meet the changes. So because the vibrations are changing, we have to adjust our bodies, and they are doing it for us. So they said, we're doing it for you, and by learning about your body and making changes to you, we're gonna make changes to other people's body. So this is how they learn about each one of us, and they tweak here and there, and they're like, okay, this is working really well. Okay, let's do it to another half of the country. So I was like, oh yeah. And it was called Inside Out. So I said, all right, Inside Out. I chose to do it Inside Out. And what else did I ask? I asked about my loved ones. My partner and my brother, and because I was frustrated over the fact that why is it happening to me only and not to my family, like other members? I want them to also experience this. I want them also to understand everything that is life about. I want to share this. And I was frustrated because I couldn't wake them up, and they told me not to. They told me not to stress over it because you have no control of it. They said it's gonna happen gradually. You are doing everything that is possible, and they will wake up. It's just their own timing. They told me about the soul contract. I asked why was my life hard, and they said it was the soul contract. You signed it, and I said okay. And I remember asking, oh, they told me some parts of the soul contract is unavoidable. You can't change it. Such as my childhood, it was unavoidable. It wasn't something I could change as a child. But everyone has a free will to change at some point. That part of the contract is gone, and you gain the free will to change everything you want. And same as that, everyone chooses their awakening. Everyone chooses the time to be awakened or not to be awakened at all. And I was told to respect. I do respect that. I think if some souls chose not to wake up and just finish the life on earth and start over a new life, then that's their choice. It's okay. It's all right. They told me, yes, some souls chose to awaken, same as me. I have chosen certain age to wake up. And they told me my brother and my partner, they would wake up when they're ready, so not to worry about it. And I asked, well, what's going to happen if they don't wake up? Well, they told me, well, some souls won't wake up. They will choose to stay on old earth, and that's okay. That's okay too. But what's going to happen gradually is they won't be there for forever, because human life is short. Human life is short, and once they finish their life on earth, they will go back to their souls. they will go back and they will be given a choice whether they want to reincarnate on new earth, which is going to be a more happier place where people are knowledgeable, they know about their mission, they know about where they came from, they have those knowledges to share and teach, or they can choose to reincarnate on different planets, on different entirely different timelines and then realities. And I said, oh wow, that's actually a good plan. So yeah, so souls have chosen not to wake up or to wake up, and that's all up to them. Any questions you have, you can ask me.